Good evening, wherever you're joining us. My name is Luke Bragg, one of the co-founders of Profila, here from rainy, cold Switzerland today. It's Zeek Week, so you can find the links for buying the Zeek token on both LCX and MinSwap in our Profila profile. And this is chapter 5 of a series we've been doing of articles I've written about the Profila way, how we see the world, how we see ourselves, and the improvements we can make in relationships between individuals and organizations wherever they find them. Chapter 5 is think of something useful, then make it powerful, lastly, make it easy. And this is about how we think about features, how we think about the superpowers that we want to give people, and how we can see them and how we develop them. And we've tried to develop a very specific DNA for how we approach this, which I think comes out in the platform if you've seen the demo or talked to us about it. The first is we're trying to correct mistakes we see in other platforms. We're trying to make sure that our incentive structure aligns with our users, and also we're a mission-focused company. And so we don't want to evolve in a way that other platforms have evolved, where they're only thinking about revenue, they're not thinking about the usefulness for individuals. We are about empowering individuals to take control back of their data, to be a much more equal partner in any kind of data relationships compared to now, where we don't know what people have about us, and they have all the power, and we have very, very few mechanisms for regaining that power. But also within that relationship, have the granular controls to be able to control the cadence of communication, to have other things that we can decide, the components of any kind of relationship that you're in, if you're sharing facets of your Profila. So our mindset is, again, captured in the title of the article. Think of something useful, something that solves a very, very specific problem for the people using our platforms, both individuals and for brands. We're in the relationship business, and we want to give these great features and great powers to both individuals to manage their data, their profile, and also brands and the activities that they have to do on the platforms as well. Secondly, make it powerful. Don't skimp on dialing it up to 11 and really providing the kind of power that most platforms don't want you to have, because it may damage their revenue model, where for us, we care more about the relationship. And lastly, make it easy. And this is obviously a UX play. We've got a very talented UX designer we've been working with for a long time. And the mentality of be thoughtful in the steps, thoughtful how the feature flows, where it's accessible, hiding it when it's not needed. It's really focusing on making it as easy as possible to use. And a lot of this comes from our own DNA, that because we're a relationship company, we don't want to have a transactional mindset with people who we consider our partners and brands who we consider our customers. We're going to market with you, with your great data product, better than anything else out there in the market. The idea that just even saying that we're in the relationship business puts us in a better context of we're just trying to drive revenue, we're trying to drive engagement. Those are all things important, but we're trying to drive good engagements. We're trying to drive good relationships between individuals, and that's a different incentive structure than a lot of folks, a lot of platforms out there that just want to maximize, even if they're bad interactions or angry interactions. I think we all kind of understand what we're talking about here. Now, when I use anything, I'm constantly thinking about UX. I'm constantly thinking about, am I using 5 steps when it really should be 3? Are they trying to make it easier for me or easier for them? But also the question I ask all the time when I start using an app is, who is controlling my interface? Who is controlling my experience? Who is ruling the kingdom? Is that the company's UX team, or is it the growth team? Meaning, is it the team that is trying to figure out how to make things as seamless and pleasant for me as possible? Or is the feature really intended to drive growth, either me buying more products from whoever made that app, or wanting to suggest more things I can follow, or whatever. Which team internally in that company is really driving what the finished product looks in my side. And I came up with two examples that I use, things I use almost every day that really show the contrast of this. The first is Audible. I love audiobooks. I read audiobooks constantly. It's my constant companion when I'm walking or when I'm working out or just putzing around the house doing laundry or whatever. And almost every time I use the app, my main intention, my only intention, is just to continue what I was listening to. But unless I have my reading glasses on and I open the app, it takes me a second to remember that I've got to go down to one small little corner. You can see in the interface, one small little corner, probably 2% of the whole interface, and that's the play button. That's where I have to go to actually continue doing what I want to be doing. But their app is obviously designed by the growth team because they want to be selling me that next book, that next experience, recommending something they think I'm going to like, when rarely, if never, the recommendations they give are something that I want to read. So they don't know, they can only judge me based on what I've read before and suggest something similar. That's not really how I read books. I'm constantly getting recommendations elsewhere and then finding them in Audible. So it's obvious that that app is designed by the growth team. They're trying to get me to do more, to spend more credits, to buy more books. And my needs just continue the book I'm reading, which again, if it's a 20-hour book, that's going to be, a long, many, many days where my main interface requirement is to keep playing the book that I'm listening to, not to choose something else. But their mentality is, let's figure out how to grow the account. Let's figure out how to get the lifetime value for Luke higher than it was before by pushing more and more books out in front of me. The second example is ExpressVPN. Now, I've used a lot of different VPN engines over the years, but once I got ExpressVPN and once I started seeing the interface, whether it's on the desktop or on a mobile app, it demystified VPN, which can be a confusing thing for non-technical people to understand. I tried to explain VPN to my mother and it was not going nowhere. But when I open the app, there's a big button to push. And when it's successful, the interface is green, whereas it's red before or kind of pale before. So, I could be blind and still know, click that button, and when the color changes, now I'm protected. Now I have a VPN network that I can do the things that I want to do. All the other features are there, one or two clicks away, but I rarely change that. I'm trying to appear to be in a single country. Oftentimes I need to change that country, but that's a rare case. The case I use the most is the easiest button to push. So I know that they were thought long and hard about the interface and said, let's just make it as easy as humanly possible. For what we know is 9 out of 10 interactions are simply VPNing to the same location that I did before, but also, again, in the main interface, being able to choose the most recent ones as well, but also giving me a little bit of information. So it's a perfect design. It's one of the best designs I've ever seen, and I don't have to think about VPN anymore. Where in the past, it required some technical knowledge to understand what you were doing. This is just, it complexifies the back end and simplifies the front end, and that's a really powerful UX and something I think about all the time. So obviously our mentality and the way I think about features and the way we try to conceive and develop features and roll them out is to think more in the ExpressVPN mentality of what's the one thing someone needs to do on this screen or this page or this process, and just make it very, very straightforward. I think a good example in the existing platform right now is the rights assertion process. This, GDPR is obviously the law of the land here in the EU and other countries, including Switzerland, have something similar. The process should be simple. It should be choose what brand you're going to assert a right with, choose which right of the 10 or so rights, and then any kind of additional information, and then onwards to actually creating a request. And we designed it in a way that it simplifies it as much as possible. And we've never seen any kind of rights assertion process that's simpler than what we've done. That usually is focused on the legality of stuff instead of just providing a very, very simple flow for people to go through. to achieve their end and get them back to their lives, get them back to the important things, in the Profila platform. So kind of two examples of this is that things we're developing now for the platform that, again, absorb this DNA that we have, and that's how we conceive features. The first is metronome, which if you've ever seen a demo of Profila, we'll talk about. We've got everything designed, it's just kind of deciding when to actually roll it out. Metronome is about controlling the pipes and controlling the flow. Because as I said at the beginning, we're trying to solve problems that we see in the world that don't seem to have good solutions. And one of those is the idea that, especially with email newsletters, they'll send as many as they want because your only choice is to keep receiving them or unsubscribe. There's nothing in between. There's no granular control. And therefore, your incentive is just to keep it and absorb the clutter of that each additional email per week that most likely is not filled with relevant information because they don't know much about you because they don't subscribe to your Profila. So that idea of what would granular control be is, imagine you could say, no, just send me one a week or one a month or whatever that is. That's what metronome is. You control the pipes, you control the flow, and you can do that across your entire Profila, or you can do that brand by brand. And in that process, there are 3 buckets of content that can come through in your main feed in Profila: experience and content, offers and promotions, and then company information. You can decide, brand by brand or across your entire platform, how often you want those buckets of information allowed in your feed. So you could say, I don't want any company information, or maybe 1 or 2 a year, but I want 2 offers a month, or I want 3 of this or 2 of that. Whatever that is, you can decide how many and in what time period they can send it. And the great thing is it's completely enforceable in the platform, because when a brand creates a campaign, they're also classifying it, which can affect their pricing and other things, but they're classifying it into several options that distill down to those 3 buckets, and they can actually see how many of the people they want to send this to won't receive it because they've already exceeded their metronome settings. So if they've got a list of 15,000 people that this campaign is going to go to, they can see only 13,000 are going to see it because the extra 2,000, they've already exceeded that month's or that week's metronome settings for those individuals, and they're not going to see it. Now that's a great bit of feedback for a brand, both to focus the quality of their campaigns, because you may only have 1 shot a month at converting a user, but also if they run a campaign, they can actually see if metronome settings change across their entire customer base. They can't see your individual metronome settings for them, but they can see a trend. They can see, oh my gosh, we ran this campaign and metronome settings got turned down in the week afterwards. That's a kind of sentiment feedback that brands simply don't have now. They can't measure annoyance in email and social media. They can't measure annoyance, therefore they don't care about it. In Profila, they can be made to care because they're going to see the reactions to it. They're going to see that more they do, bad content or too often or whatever it is, that the customers are saying, no, I'm going to turn the volume down. And that's really what metronome is. It's a knob that allows you to turn the volume down. Now, again, if the growth team was controlling things, they would not want a feature like metronome because it lowers the amount of interactions on the platform. Because again, you can decide how many interactions there are as an individual in your Profila. So if it were just about growth for Profila, that would not be a feature we'd even think about. Why would you do that? Imagine Facebook or Instagram trying to do something like this with this level of control and power. But for us, we want good interactions. And so a non-consensual interaction, too many things being sent to someone, for us is a net negative for that individual, for that brand, and for the platform in general. We want to give you that control, to control the pipes to the optimum level for you, brand by brand or across your platform. Now, that kind of granular control, that kind of power is something we will include. Metronome is a concept that we're going to include in features in the future, whether it's an avatar in the marketplace or a buying signal where you're trying to find offers for something. you will have metronome style controls to say, okay, well, here's how many I want. I want 4 offers. I want 5 offers per week for the next couple weeks. Instead of just having a fire hose aimed at you of content once brands find out you're looking for a package holiday or something. So metronome is a concept that will find its way into each feature. And once you've gotten used to that, when a new feature is rolled out, a whole new area, something like the marketplace, you'll say, okay, well, where are my superpowers? Where's the control that I have, that I want to have to control the pipes and control the flows, regardless of what part of the platform that you are in. So we're very, very proud of not only designing and implementing a feature like metronome, but also just the fact that those are the kind of things that come into our mind, is how can we create great relationships, great interactions, and what features and concepts will support that. So that's one example. The second is bona fides. Again, kind of an old-timey world. We like old-timey things here at Profila. And that's about one of the bigger parts of your Profila, which is your digital IDs and your wallet. Now, we're of the belief that there's not going to be one winner in wallets or digital IDs. It's just not going to happen. I've already got 4 digital IDs without even really trying, based on places that I've lived and other things. Instead of getting into that business and trying to create a better wallet or a better digital ID, which for us is a distraction from our main mission, we want you to be able to aggregate any digital ID in any wallet within your Profila in a feature we call bona fides. Bona fides means essentially being able to prove the facts of your life. Because each digital IDs, especially as it matures, will have credentials and certificates that prove certain facts of your life. For me, it may be that I have a work and resident permit for Switzerland. I'm employed. I have health insurance. I graduated from a certain university. I had a certain degree. Previous employments, things like that. Anything that kind of proves the facts of my life that I may need to be able to provide to somebody for a specific situation. And in our mind, bona fides not only aggregates digital IDs, but also these certificates and credentials, because they may be a part of a data contract request from a brand in the future. A brand may want to know and me be able to prove that I live in Switzerland, because that makes me a different kind of customer than if I live someplace else. That could be things like age verification, proof of employment, and things like that. And it can be done both explicitly, that they can see exactly what kind of permit I have, but maybe it's just enough that they know that I have a Swiss-signed residence and work permits, and they don't need to know what type, they don't need to know the expiration date, but I've simply proven that I do live here. Those are the kind of things that are going to be so useful in the future, as we all have digital IDs, and we all need to prove things, not just while we're on our computer, but out in the world. So you can easily imagine a scenario where in a moment I need to prove some fact of my life to get something that I need out in the world, and I can be able to do that by simply going to Profila, opening it up, providing a QR code that they scan, and then they have the proof that they need, that I'm eligible for whatever thing that I'm looking to do. So we think that's going to be incredibly powerful, and it takes digital IDs and takes them from just being kind of a cool thing that has limited uses to something that has wide uses, because it creates a standard for how these certificates and credentials can be presented, either in a data contract for long term or just in time in the moment. Imagine doing a KYC process in the future that takes you 30 seconds and not the long time it takes now. So again, our mentality was, this is going to be very useful if we do this the right way. If we integrate digital IDs and understand the landscape of where this is evolving, of course, we'll benefit from the fact that all digital IDs and wallets want to be integrated elsewhere. So they're going to be providing SDKs easily, and that will be our path as well. But we consider bona fides a superpower that we want to enable people. We want people to understand it at its base level and make the interface very easy to use. So that's something that's coming up as well. The final word is, we're mission centric in our approach to everything. We are trying to change the world, a world that we see as deeply unbalanced and lacks the agency and sovereignty of individuals in how we interact with the world. It evolved in this direction, and it needs a radical solution to get us to a much better rebalancing. And once that happens, everybody wins. Brands will be able to know more about you, target you more accurately based on information you've consented for them to have, and get the conversion and engagement that they want from people who want to interact with them. And for individuals, just that sense of you own something, you control something that's incredibly valuable, all the insights and sentiments and preferences of yourself in your profile, and you have dictatorial control over who has access to it and what they do with it. So we want to be very, very conscious and deliberate about the features that we roll out that empower that mission as best we can, and does facilitate better relationships and better interactions. And that'll be a change from the world that we live in now. And a part of that process is for us to understand the ideal journey, and saying, okay, well, this takes 5 steps. Can we bring it down to 3? Can we do it where we're not cluttering up the interface? We're very, very proud of the very clean interface. And as we add more things in the future, we want to ensure that that uncluttering mindset keeps going. And also, building features that when you need them, boom, there they are. But when you don't, they kind of slide into the background. And that's important for us because, again, like most startups, I want to use Profila. I want to have a mature Profila. I want every brand in my life to subscribe to me through Profila. And I want to be able to throw anonymous avatars in a marketplace to find content, to find offers, to find brands, to find products that are interesting to me in an anonymous way, and then potentially then upgrade those to actual data relationships. So it's easy to design features for yourself. And as I often say, I also design things for my mother. So if I can talk through a feature with my mother and she gets it, then I know I've done a pretty good job because of her level, which is higher than I joke about. But that kind of demographic understanding how a feature is important to them. So again, we care about the core value of something. We want to find something that is useful to the users, really, really useful, and it solves a very, very specific problem. We then want to say, okay, well, what's the maximum power we can give somebody in this feature? Not just something that's convenient, but for something that really feels like it's a controlling knob for your experience. And then lastly, okay, how can we make the interface, how can we make the flow so simple and so straightforward that there's no reason not to use it? And that is our mindset. And that is how we approach all the problems that we see with current platforms. That's how we see the future of Profila. And every feature kind of goes through this litmus test of being useful, being powerful, and being easy. And also because it's Zeek Week, I'll remind you that also every feature we come up with, every idea we have, we think about how will Zeek flow through this? Is this something where someone will actually be able to earn Zeek by accomplishing a certain task? Or will it be something that they will use Zeek to pay for something that provides them value? So all these things matter, and it's very much a part of the Profila DNA to think like this. We are people just like you out in the world, and we see bad design, we see bad UX, and we don't want to include that in Profila. We are powered by the UX team, not the growth team, because we know that the magic moments of Profila are supported by that mindset. That for individuals, once they're in the platform, they have some interaction with a few brands, we want them to have that magical moment of saying, why can't I do this with every brand, every organization in my life? And on the brand side, their magic moment is after bringing some customers on and trying it out and seeing the conversion, seeing the engagement, seeing the inexpensive nature of our loyalty features, we want them to say that magic moment, why am I not doing this with each and every one of my customers? With that as a goal, that networking effect on both sides perfectly lines up with our mentality of thinking of something useful, then making it powerful, and lastly, making it easy. Again, my name is Luke Bragg. I'm one of the co-founders of Profila. This is Zeek Week, so if you want to get on board early with having Zeek tokens, you can go to our Twitter, whole Twitter presence this week with links to MinSwap and LCX. And also, you can get a bonus if you sign up for the platform and complete a few tasks. So thank you. Tomorrow we'll have the last chapter, and I'll see you then.